You think a brutal winter is just about deep snowfall? Not exactly. In some places, the sky is bright and the radar looks almost empty, but the wind whips snow off the ground and the entire road disappears. In other places, snow doesn't fall according to the forecast. It falls like it's targeting specific neighborhoods, and just a few miles can feel like a completely different world. And in some places, it doesn't even need huge snow totals. If it stays cold long enough, you start noticing everything slow down. Cars have to be plugged in, batteries drop like they're sliding downhill, and daylight feels like a limited time offer. In this video, I'm counting down the top 10 most brutal winter regions in the United States, and each one comes with its own kind of punishment. And by number 1, you'll understand why wind is what turns winter into a weapon. Number 10. Syracuse, New York. In Syracuse, snow does not politely fall. Snow picks a neighborhood, locks eyes with it, and then unloads like it has personal beef. This is lake effect country, where Lake Ontario acts like a giant moisture battery. And the wind is basically the finger that presses send. One tiny shift in that wind and the whole storm band slides over like a spotlight, except the spotlight is a blizzard and you are the main character. Real quick reality check. Syracuse averages about 127.8 inches of snow a year. January alone averages around 34 inches, and December is right there too, roughly 30.6. That is not cute winter vibes. That is, your driveway becomes a part-time job. And this is the sneaky part. It is not always spread out nicely. Days with at least 5 inches of snow happen multiple times a season, around half a dozen in a typical year, and true 10-inch days show up often enough to ruin your plans and your lower back. Picture this. You wake up, look out the window, and the sky is calm. You start feeling confident. Then you check the radar and see a thick white stripe aimed directly at your zip code like a weather laser. 10 minutes later, your street disappears. Your car is now a vague shape. Your trash cans are gone. Not stolen, just promoted into the snowbank witness protection program. Now let us talk about the cost you do not see on the brochure. Syracuse winter is not only cold, it is expensive in time. You do not just commute, you excavate. You do not just go to the store, you schedule your life around plows, road conditions, and that one neighbor who thinks all-season tires are a personality trait. Your snowblower starts feeling less like a tool and more like a roommate with attitude. Some mornings, the only thing moving confidently is the guy in the plow, and he is driving like he has a secret deal with the laws of physics. And yet here is why people stay. Syracuse has this stubborn pride. There is even a goofy little trophy culture around it. The golden snowball, because yes, this region literally competes over who gets buried the most. Imagine bragging rights for suffering, only in upstate New York. So here is the question. Could you handle a winter where snow is not an event, it is a schedule? Where the forecast is not information, it is a daily negotiation? If your answer is absolutely not, then the next place on this list is going to make Syracuse feel like a warm-up round. Number 9. Tug Hill Plateau, New York. If Syracuse is the city where snow shows up like an unexpected bill, Tug Hill is where snow sets up a permanent mailing address. This is not just a place that gets a lot of snow. Tug Hill is Lake Ontario's favorite target, the bullseye on the map where winter doesn't visit, it camps. Here is the unfair part. Lake effect snow is not polite, and it is not evenly distributed. It forms in narrow, aggressive bands. One town can be calm, and 10 minutes down the road, you drive straight into a wall of white like the weather just turned the difficulty setting to nightmare. Tug Hill sits high enough, fast enough, that those snow bands hit the plateau and basically get squeezed into dumping everything they've been carrying. Think of Lake Ontario as a giant humidifier, and Tug Hill is the one spot where the fan is always pointed directly at your face. Real quick reality check. In a typical year, this region can see around 200 inches of snow, and the snowiest corridors push well beyond that. Some pockets of the plateau are famous for totals that make normal snowy towns look like they are playing in kid mode. And the storms here are not just big, they are stubborn. There have been lake effect stretches where communities like Redfield have stacked up astonishing totals in just days, the kind of accumulation that turns every driveway into an excavation site. Picture this. You leave a gas station near the lake with wet pavement and confidence. You drive uphill for a few miles and suddenly your headlights feel pointless. The road disappears. Your windshield wipers are working overtime like they're trying to win Employee of the Month. You slow down because you have learned the hard way that Tug Hill does not care about your schedule, your tires, or your personal growth journey. Now let's talk about the cost nobody advertises. Tug Hill winter is paid in time. You don't go to work, you clear your way into the possibility of going to work. Your morning routine is layers, scraping, shoveling, snow blowing, and then shoveling again because the plow came through and rebuilt your driveway like it's an art installation called Good Luck, Buddy. Your snowblower becomes less of a tool and more of a long-term relationship. You will learn its moods. You will learn its limits. You will start talking to it like it's a coworker. And somehow people still live here on purpose. Because the community adapts, neighbors pull each other out, someone always has an extra toe strap. And there's a strange pride in surviving a place where winter doesn't just happen, it performs. So here's the question. Could you live where the forecast isn't information? It's a warning label. Because the next location on this list takes that same lake effect chaos and adds a new ingredient that makes it feel even more personal. Number 8, Buffalo, New York. Buffalo is not just a snowy place. Buffalo is a full-size city that occasionally gets erased like someone hit the whiteout button on reality. And that is the signature here. This is a metro area where winter is not only about how much snow falls, it is about how fast your visibility, your commute, and your confidence can disappear. Let us do a quick reality check. Buffalo averages roughly 95 inches of snow a year. December and January are the heavy hitters, around the mid-20s each month on average, with February still adding plenty. That sounds manageable until you remember this is lake effect country, where snow does not arrive politely across the whole map. It arrives in narrow, aggressive bands. One neighborhood is fine. 5 miles away, it looks like someone poured a giant bag of flour into an industrial fan. Here is what makes Buffalo different from the smaller snow towns. In a rural place, you get buried and you stay home. In a city, you get buried and you still have to function. You still have traffic lights, ramps, buses, deliveries, school schedules, hospital shifts, and that one coworker who swears they can drive in anything because they grew up here. Buffalo winter punishes that attitude fast. Picture this. You pull onto a main road, the lanes are faint, the sky is the color of a blank sheet of paper. Snow is moving sideways, not down, like it is trying to escape the planet. You follow taillights at 15 miles an hour, and you are still thinking, I am one gust away from becoming a parked car with hopes and dreams. This is why Buffalo winter feels like a gamble. Not because you cannot handle cold, but because the environment keeps changing the rules. And if you think this is just internet exaggeration, Buffalo has already proven it can sustain true blizzard conditions for an uncomfortably long time. During the late December 2022 storm, the Buffalo airport reported blizzard conditions for about 37 straight hours. That is not a bad afternoon, that is winter showing up and refusing to leave the party. Now for the Buffalo bonus feature that feels like a glitch in the simulation. The wind can shove Lake Erie around like a giant bathtub. In that same storm window, reports noted an extreme water level difference across the lake, with Toledo and Buffalo reading nearly 18.5 feet apart. So yes, you can have a snowstorm that also makes the lake act like it has mood swings. So here is the question. Could you live where the forecast is not a prediction? It is a warning label. Where you might wake up to normal roads and by lunch your city looks like a slow-motion snow globe with bad intentions. If that sounds exhausting, do not relax yet, because the next place on this list takes lake effect chaos and turns it into something even more relentless. Number 7. Erie, Pennsylvania. Erie is not the kind of winter that slowly settles in. Erie is the kind of winter that hides behind a corner and jumps out when you're just trying to get home. This place sits right on Lake Erie, and that lake does not behave like scenery. It behaves like a snow factory that can flip from quiet to whiteout with almost no warning. Let's do a quick reality check. Erie averages about 104 inches of snow a year, and the worst of it stacks in the heart of winter. January alone averages around 32 inches, and December isn't far behind. That sounds like a typical snowy town until you understand the signature here isn't only volume, it's timing. Erie gets hit by snow squalls, the fast violent bursts that can turn a normal drive into a full panic scenario. The National Weather Service describes snow squalls as sudden, intense snow showers that can bring near-zero visibility and rapid freezing on roads, often lasting less than an hour, which is just long enough to ruin your entire day. Picture this. You're on the highway. The sky is gray, but you can see. Then, up ahead, it looks like someone dropped a white curtain across the road. You drive into it, and everything disappears. The lanes vanish. The taillights in front of you fade into ghost dots. Your windshield wipers are working like they're trying to earn overtime. And while you're blinking, the temperature dips and the pavement starts to glaze. Erie winter doesn't ask for your attention, it takes it. That's why this place has such a reputation online. Erie is basically a highlight reel for dash cams. It sits on a corridor where people are always moving, and snow squalls love to pick the exact moment traffic is at its busiest. It's like the weather has a sense of humor, and it's not the friendly kind. Buffalo can erase a city. Erie can erase a stretch of road in minutes, and that difference matters when you're the one holding the steering wheel. And if you think this is all talk, Erie has produced truly absurd events. In late December 2017, the region was hammered by lake-effect snow so intense that reports noted more than 4 feet falling in roughly a day, with insane hourly rates during the worst bands. That's not winter weather. That's a snow emergency disguised as a forecast. Now, here's the Erie tax nobody mentions. Your life starts orbiting around the lake. You don't just check the weather, you check the radar like it's a stock market chart. You learn which wind directions mean trouble. You learn which roads turn into skating rinks first. And you learn that it's fine right now is the most dangerous sentence in town. So, be honest. Could you live somewhere that can go from normal to near zero visibility before your coffee cools? Because the next location on this list takes winter chaos and adds a whole new kind of punishment that makes Erie feel like the warning shot. Number 6, Duluth, Minnesota. Duluth is what happens when someone builds a city on a giant staircase next to the biggest cold water you've ever seen. This is not just a snowy place. This is a winter obstacle course with gravity turned all the way up. If Buffalo is the city that gets erased in whiteout, Duluth is the city where the roads quietly turn into a bobsled track and nobody tells your car. Quick reality check. Duluth averages around 90 inches of snow a year, and the winter months stack it steadily. December is roughly 19 inches on average, January about 17, February around 15. But the real personality of Duluth isn't only snowfall, it's the cold that makes everything slippery, stubborn, and expensive in effort. In January, the average temperature is around 11 degrees Fahrenheit. That means the maybe it'll melt later fantasy is basically illegal here. Now let me explain the Duluth problem in one sentence. Hills, big ones. The city rises fast away from Lake Superior, and when you mix steep streets with black ice, winter stops being scenery and starts being physics class. Black ice is the most disrespectful kind of ice because it's nearly invisible. It looks like wet pavement until you touch it, and by then you're already negotiating with your brakes like they're a moody coworker. Picture this. You're driving downhill and the road looks fine. You tap the brake and the car gives you a gentle no. Not an aggressive no, just a calm, confident no. Your tires glide like they're auditioning for an Olympic curling team. You grip the steering wheel, your shoulders go up to your ears, and you start praying to every winter god you've ever laughed at. In Duluth, you can't just drive carefully, you have to drive like you're carrying a pot of soup with no lid. And this place has a resume. Duluth's cold isn't occasional. It can be brutally persistent. There's a well-known stretch from January 1994 where the Duluth airport recorded 186 straight hours below zero. That's not a cold week, that's a cold season trying to become a personality disorder. Here's the sneaky cost. Winter in Duluth charges you in time and nerves. You don't just commute, you strategize. You pick routes like you're planning a heist. You watch the forecast, but you also watch the hills. You learn which intersections are secretly ice rinks. You start carrying salt, traction gear, and the emotional maturity to accept that sometimes the correct move is staying home. The crazy part is, it's also beautiful. Lake Superior in winter looks like a planet. Steam rises off the water, the sky turns steel gray, and the whole city feels cinematic. Then you take one wrong step in the parking lot and remember, you are not the main character. You are just another person trying not to slip like a cartoon. So be honest. Could you live where winter doesn't just freeze the air, it weaponizes the hills? Because the next place on this list takes cold endurance to a level that makes Duluth feel like a warm-up lab. Number 5. Keweenaw Peninsula, Michigan. The tip of the Upper Peninsula, where winter doesn't just arrive, it moves in and starts paying rent with snow. Keweenaw's signature is simple to explain and brutal to live through. This peninsula sticks out into Lake Superior like it's volunteering to get hit first. And Lake Superior is not a lake in winter, it's a snow machine the size of a state. Cold air rolls over that water, scoops up moisture, and then drops it back on the land in thick, stubborn bands. The result is a place where snow doesn't feel like a storm. It feels like a schedule, a rotating shift system. If the wind changes direction, the snow doesn't stop, it just finds a new angle. Let's do a quick reality check. In this region around Houghton, Hancock, seasonal snowfall totals around 270 inches aren't a shocking rumor, they're part of the reputation. Some winters climb over 300 inches, and that's not ancient history. There are seasons on record topping 315 inches, and the all-time benchmark in the area is the kind of number that makes you stare at the screen and whisper, "That has to be a typo." It isn't. Keweenaw snow can stack up until it becomes architecture. And here's the sneaky part. The temperatures don't have to be record-breaking to make this miserable. In January, the average highs hover in the low 20s Fahrenheit and the average lows drop into the low teens. That's cold enough to keep snow from melting. So every new band doesn't replace the old snow, it builds on it. Your driveway becomes a layered cake made entirely of inconvenience. Picture this, you walk outside and the world looks clean and quiet, almost pretty. Then you realize your car is gone, not stolen, just erased, buried under a drift that looks like a small white hill. You start digging and immediately learn something important about Keweenaw life. You're not going anywhere until you earn it. Your snowblower becomes your closest relationship and it will still betray you at the worst possible moment. Now, the real Keweenaw tax is isolation. In a big city, a storm is a headline. Here, it's a lifestyle. Roads get narrowed into snow corridors. Plows carve walls that make you feel like you're driving through a frozen canyon. Deliveries slow down. Plans become optional. And you start measuring distance in 2 units. Miles and how bad the lake is feeling today. The locals are tough though. They have to be. People here talk about snowfall totals like other places talk about sports scores. They'll say we're past 300 with the same energy somebody in Florida says it's 80 again. And that's the wild part. Keweenaw doesn't just survive winter, it normalizes it. So let me ask you, could you live where parking your car is basically a temporary goodbye and every morning starts with excavation? Because the next location on this list takes winter pressure in a different direction and turns it into a whole new kind of punishment. Number 4, International Falls, Minnesota. International Falls is not famous because it gets the most snow. It's famous because it feels like America's freezer door never fully closes. This town sits on the Canadian border and it wears its reputation like a badge. They don't just call it cold, they call it the icebox of the nation. And honestly, that's less of a nickname and more of a warning label. Let's do a quick reality check. In January, the average high is only around 16 degrees Fahrenheit, and the average low drops to about -6. The average January temperature hovers near 5 degrees. That's the kind of cold where your face learns humility. And it's not just a few dramatic days. On average, International Falls gets more than 100 days a year where the temperature never even climbs above freezing. It also racks up dozens of nights where the low hits 0 or below. This is not bundle up and enjoy the season. This is winter becomes your default setting. And here's the signature. The cold doesn't just chill the air, it steals time. Everything takes longer. Your car needs a longer warm-up. Your hands move slower. Your battery drains faster. Your errands become tactical missions. Even stepping outside for 2 minutes turns into a negotiation with your own lungs. You know that feeling when you open a freezer and the cold air rushes out? Now imagine the freezer is the entire town and you're the leftover container that forgot to close properly. Picture this. You wake up early, feeling productive. You open the door and the air hits you like a silent slap. Your nostrils tighten, your eyelashes start considering freezing as a lifestyle choice. You walk to the car and the door handle feels like it was stored in a lab. You start the engine and it sounds offended, like, you really want me to do this today? And suddenly you realize winter here isn't an event you endure. It's the environment you live inside. Now the wild part is how International Falls turns that hardship into identity. Cold weather testing happens here because companies want the real thing. This place is basically a natural laboratory for will it still work when everything else wants to quit? And the locals, instead of being miserable all the time, lean into it. There's a winter festival called Icebox Days with activities that sound like a dare. Frozen turkey bowling, smoosh races, stuff that makes you think either these people are fearless or the cold has rewired their sense of fun. That's the emotional roller coaster of International Falls. It's harsh enough to make you question your life choices, and then it turns around and laughs in your face like, what, you thought we were going to be normal about this? So here's the question. Could you live where winter isn't a season, it's a brand and a lifestyle? Where the cold doesn't just make things uncomfortable, it changes how long everything takes to happen. If you think this is intense, the next location takes winter pressure in a different direction and makes Icebox feel like only one part of the problem. Number 3. Fargo, North Dakota. Fargo's winter doesn't always win by dumping the most snow. Fargo wins by turning the entire world into a blank screen. This is prairie winter, and the signature here is the ground blizzard. That's when it can look like nothing is falling from the sky, but the wind grabs the snow already on the ground and launches it back into your face until visibility collapses. The National Weather Service is very clear about it. Blizzard conditions can happen even without new snowfall because blowing snow can do all the damage by itself. Quick reality check. Fargo averages around 51 inches of snow in a year. In January, the average high is roughly 18 degrees Fahrenheit, and the average low hovers near 0. So no, this isn't the snowiest place on the list. But Fargo's winter is a different kind of problem. It's not about how deep the snow is in your yard, it's about how the wind uses that snow like a weapon on every open road. And Fargo has a lot of open roads. The Red River Valley is famously flat. That sounds convenient until winter shows up and you realize flat also means there's nothing to slow the wind down. No hills to break it, no forest to block it. Just a giant frozen runway where gusts can build speed and keep going like they have a grudge. Now here's the scary part that people don't expect. A blizzard warning isn't just it's snowing hard. The NWS describes it as sustained winds or frequent gusts of 35 miles per hour or more with snow or blowing snow, reducing visibility to less than a quarter mile for at least 3 hours. That means the danger isn't only accumulation, it's the moment your headlights stop helping. It's the moment you can't tell where the road ends and the ditch begins. Picture this. You look outside and it's bright. You think, okay, maybe today is fine. You drive 5 minutes and then the wind rises. The snow on the shoulder lifts off the ground and starts sliding across the highway in sheets. Your view turns milky white. The lines disappear. You see nothing but a glowing blur and a faint suggestion of taillights, and you realize you are driving inside a weather effect. Not through it, inside it. Fargo winter is like someone turned the landscape into a giant white screensaver and forgot to add the pause button. And the psychological part is brutal. In lake effect towns, you can point at the clouds and say, that's the band. In Fargo, the sky can look calm and the danger is still right there at ground level, waiting for wind. It's the kind of winter that makes you check forecasts like you're tracking a moving threat, because one change in wind speed can turn a normal errand into a survival decision. So here's the question. Could you live where the storm doesn't need to fall from the sky to shut your world down? Where the snow you already have can come back for round 2 the moment the wind gets bored? Because the next place on this list takes winter isolation and turns it into something even more intense. Answer: number 2, Fairbanks, Alaska. Fairbanks is not a snowy winter town. Fairbanks is a place where winter feels like it has authority. This is the kind of cold that doesn't just make you uncomfortable, it changes the rules of what you can do, how long it takes, and what your body is willing to tolerate. If Buffalo erases streets with whiteout, Fairbanks erases your motivation with air that feels like it came straight out of a deep freezer. Quick reality check. In January, Fairbanks averages a mean temperature around -8 degrees Fahrenheit. Not one chill, not a dramatic headline number, just the normal baseline. And the daylight situation is wild. Around the darkest stretch of winter, you're looking at only about 3 hours and 40 minutes of daylight. That's not short days, then that's your brain starts forgetting what noon looks like. Now here's the Fairbanks signature that people don't expect until they see it. Ice fog. When it gets brutally cold, the air can fill with tiny ice crystals that hang low and turn the city into a glowing, surreal haze. Streetlights create halos. Everything looks cinematic, and at the same time, it's a reminder that the atmosphere itself is freezing. This is a place where winter doesn't just sit on the ground. It floats around you, and it gets even stranger. Fairbanks is known for temperature inversions in winter where warmer air sits above colder air near the surface like a lid. That means the cold in the air you breathe can get trapped down low. It's not just chilly, it's layered. It's like the sky put a heavy blanket over the city, except the blanket is made of physics and bad vibes. Picture this. You step outside and your breath immediately turns into a cloud. The air feels dry and sharp like it's trying to sandpaper your face. Your eyelashes start thinking about freezing as a hobby. You walk to your car and it's not just cold inside, the car feels asleep. In Fairbanks, vehicles aren't transportation, they're relationships. People plug them in like hospital equipment because starting an engine in extreme cold is basically a negotiation. Your phone battery drops faster than your optimism. Your gloves become the most important thing you own. And if you forget them, your hands will teach you a lesson in about 30 seconds. Here's the sneaky cost. Fairbanks winter taxes your time and your mood. Everything takes longer. Warming up, scraping, starting, driving carefully on cold, stiff roads, and doing it all again when the sun is already gone. The darkness isn't just dark, it's persistent. It creeps into your schedule. It makes normal errands feel like missions. And yet people stay because there's pride in surviving a place this intense. The sky can be unbelievably beautiful. The air can be crystal clear. The northern lights show up like a reward if you're awake and brave enough to go outside. So be honest. Could you live where the air itself looks frozen and daylight feels like a limited time offer? Because the next and final location on this list takes winter to a level that makes Fairbanks feel like the warm-up for the main event. Number 1. Mount Washington, New Hampshire. Mount Washington isn't just cold. Mount Washington is aggressive. This is the place where winter doesn't fall from the sky, it attacks from the side. The signature here isn't snowfall totals or cute mountain vibes. It's wind so strong it turns weather into a physical force, and rime ice that coats everything like the mountain is being flash frozen in real time. Let's do a quick reality check. Mount Washington has recorded a legendary wind gust of 231 miles per hour. That number alone tells you what kind of place this is. And it's not a one-off personality trait. The observatory describes winter up there as a constant wrestling match, with wind, with hurricane-force conditions happening often enough to feel routine. In other words, this is not bring a warm jacket, this is bring respect. Now here's what makes the summit feel unreal. Rime ice. When supercooled fog and cloud droplets slam into anything on the mountain, they freeze instantly and build thick, spiky ice that grows into the wind like nature is sculpting with a nail gun. Railings become jagged white sculptures. Signs turn into unreadable lumps. Antennas look like they're wearing armor. It's beautiful in a terrifying way, like a winter museum where the exhibits are warning signs. Picture this. You step out above tree line and the wind doesn't just push you, it grabs you. It's loud, constant, and angry. Like standing behind a jet engine made of snow. Your eyes water immediately. Your face goes numb. Your breath doesn't feel refreshing. It feels sharp. And the scariest part is how fast it can overwhelm you. The cold here isn't only temperature, it's wind chill. The kind that makes exposed skin feel like it being erased. There was a widely reported moment when Mount Washington hit wind chills around minus 100 degrees Fahrenheit. That's not uncomfortable, Ethan. That's your body starts negotiating with reality. And this is why Mount Washington is the final boss of American winter. It takes every winter hazard and turns the volume up. Wind that can knock you off balance. Ice that turns surfaces into traps. Visibility that can disappear in cloud. And conditions that change so quickly you can go from "this is fine" to "we need to leave" before your phone camera even focuses. Here's the sneaky lesson for anyone watching this list like a survival guide. In most places, winter punishes your commute. On Mount Washington, winter punishes your existence. It's a reminder that you don't have to be in Alaska to experience truly extreme conditions. Sometimes the worst winter on the map is a mountain in New England that treats every visitor like a test subject. So be honest, could you handle a place where the wind is the main character and ice grows sideways? Because after Mount Washington, every other winter story starts sounding like the warm-up. So that's the list. 10 places where winter doesn't feel like a season, it feels like a contract you forgot you signed. Some of these towns bury you in lake-effect snow, some erase the road with prairie whiteouts, and some, like Mount Washington, turn wind into something you can actually fight with your body. But here's the real takeaway. Harsh winter isn't one thing. It can be snow volume, visibility, ice, darkness, or the kind of cold that makes daily life slow down and cost more. Now I want to hear from you. Which location shocked you the most, and which one do you think we missed? If you've lived in any of these areas, drop your best winter survival story in the comments. And if this video saved you from making a weather-related life mistake, hit like, subscribe, and share it with that friend who thinks all seasons tires are a personality.